Good evening, friends. The Supreme Court has today come down heavily on suspended BJP spokeswoman Nupur Sharma over her controversial comments on Muhammad, Islam's prophet, during a TV show and said she is single-handedly responsible for what is happening in the country. Justice Surya Kant, presiding over a two-judge vacation bench, made the remarks while hearing a plea by Nupur Sharma seeking clubbing of the different FIRs filed in different states against her for the remarks. Now, there are several things disturbing about the observations that the court has made, and people are outraging over it on social media on just some of the points, the focus of which is freedom of speech. But there are other things that are not okay about the observations made today. First of all, I'm dealing with justifying Islamic terrorism. I quote verbatim what has been reported in the media about the observations. She has a threat, or she has become a security threat. The way she ignited emotions across the country has led to unfortunate incidents. This lady is single-handedly responsible for what is happening in the country. We saw the debate. Another quote, she and her loose tongue have set the entire country on fire. Yet another quote, these remarks are very disturbing and smack of arrogance. What is her business to make such remarks? These remarks have led to unfortunate incidents in the country. These people are not religious. They do not have respect for other religions. These remarks were made for cheap publicity or for political agenda or some other nefarious activities. Another quote. On her complaint, a person is arrested, but despite multiple FIRs, she has not been touched by Delhi police. Another one. What has happened in the investigation so far? There must have been a red carpet for you there. This is the court telling Nupur Sharma. Another quote. What if she is the spokesperson of a party? What if she is a spokesperson of a party? That would be the better tone of this statement. She thinks she has backup power and make any statement without respect to the law of the land? Yet another statement. We saw the debate on how she was incited, but the way she said all this and later says she is a lawyer, it is shameful. She should have gone to the TV and apologized to the nation. Now, in all these statements, there is no condemnation of the threat of Islamism on the rest of humanity. Specifically about India and about this case, the judge sounds sympathetic to Muhammad Zubair, where he says he was arrested, but Nupur Sharma was not, despite several FIRs against her. I quote from the court's observations, when you register an FIR against someone, then they are arrested, but not you. This shows your clout. Which means that all these threats of rape and murder that she faces are all justified because of some perceived insult to someone's religion? Hold on, that's not all. Now, in the next part, I'll deal with the parts of the observations of the Supreme Court that are self-contradictory. The court has made a very disturbing analogy, and then I'll deal with freedom of speech. I quote again from what the court observed. In a democracy, everyone has a right to speak. In a democracy, grass has the right to grow and a donkey has the right to eat. Who is the grass and who is the donkey here? Is Nupur Sharma the grass? Then she should have the right to grow, right? Meaning she had the right to say what she did. But the Supreme Court is denying her that right. And do Muhammad Riaz Attari and Ghaus Muhammad represent the donkey that has the right to eat? Which means they had the right to kill Kanhaiya Lal? Or does it mean all the people who have threatened to rape and kill Nupur Sharma are donkeys that have the right to eat? Now I come to the apology that the Supreme Court seeks from Nupur Sharma. I quote again what the bench said. Her apology came too late, and that too conditionally, saying if religious sentiments are hurt and so on. She should have been on TV immediately and apologized to the nation. Now, I, Surajit Dasgupta, believe that Nupur Sharma's mistake was not that her apology was conditional. It was that she apologized in the first place. While I hold that freedom of expression, here is where I deal with this issue that is the most under discussion on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So while I hold that freedom of expression can only be absolute, otherwise it is no freedom at all, I may accept for the sake of argument that this freedom must be subject to reasonable restrictions. But what would be a reasonable restriction? That something is good or something is bad may be an opinion. Okay, if I say something is bad and it hurts someone's sentiments, maybe I shouldn't say it. That's a reasonable restriction because it's my opinion that it is good or bad. But what if it is a fact? The Supreme Court must explain what would be a reasonable restriction to free speech. Is citing a fact prohibited? What Nupur Sharma said is endorsed by not only a hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, and I cite the exact place where that can be found, 5134, book 67, hadith 70. So, her statement is endorsed by not only a hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, which is an authenticated hadith, but also history, and I named some historians, Karl Brockelman, Nabia Abbott, and many other historians with their books all peer-reviewed and found to be correct. It was not her opinion. The age at which Muhammad, Islam's prophet, got married to Aisha and the age at which he consummated the marriage are both parts of history, and they are also endorsed by the holy books of Islam. So it's a fact, either in terms of belief or in terms of history. So how should she have restricted herself, and why should she have restricted herself? In that case, what is the importance of freedom of speech? Now I come to the part where the court has made some observations about the media. I quote again, "What is the business of the TV channel and Nupur Sharma to discuss the matter which is sub judice, except to promote an agenda?" Okay, so what would the Honorable Judge say about the coverage of the Ayodhya issue? Throughout the duration when the case was being heard by the Allahabad High Court and then the Supreme Court, the media covered it extensively. And the media did not merely relay information from the court, it published articles and broadcast debates that strengthened the arguments in favor of the Ram Janmabhoomi or in favor of Babri Masjid. Why did the Supreme Court not restrict the media at that point, that you are not supposed to express all these opinions? Because a lot of what was said and printed and published and broadcast was opinion, not just fact. So here we are not even allowing facts, whereas even opinions were kosher back then. Okay, then about the procedures of the court. The petition, I quote again, "The petition smacks of her arrogance, that the magistrates of the country are too small for her." The Supreme Court said this because Nupur Sharma had appealed to it to club all the FIRs, all the cases against her lodged in different parts of the country. So, is this the first time anybody moved the Supreme Court to appeal for a clubbing of similar cases against him or her? Did the Supreme Court never entertain such pleas? Whenever the Supreme Court agreed to club similar cases together, will all those decisions of the highest court turn null and void? Okay, then the judge tells the advocate of Nupur Sharma, "No, Mr. Singh, the conscience of the court is not satisfied. We must mold the law accordingly." Now, a phrase in this statement raises a question. What is meant by the conscience of the court? Can an inanimate object like a building of a court have a conscience? Obviously not. Is a court like an individual whose views about things remain consistent throughout the history of his existence? No. Therefore, the only thing that can be seen as the conscience of an Indian court is the Constitution of India. Does the Constitution prohibit clubbing of cases? No. So what is the judge talking about? Who must apologize, my lord? Thank you.